Welcome back to the 28 AM podcast. This is me, Ayush Majithia, your host, and I'm really excited for this podcast because this is my favorite podcast in comparison of both the podcasts that I host because these are conversations that I have with my friends, and I felt these conversations needed to be put out because there's so much which I think I can learn from them. So yeah. And today I'm excited to have my friend Madisyn Stogsdill, and she's the founder of Project Patriarchy, which creates political awareness. It's a nonprofit organization, and I'm excited to have you, Madisyn. So yeah, how do you feel being here?
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I mean, you're an amazing person, and the fact that you're so interested in so many other people in their different fields is awesome. And I'm just so happy that I can be here and talk to you about that, and also learn a little bit more about what you do.
Awesome. So just a background context for the audience, actually. So Madisyn and I actually met on LinkedIn. So yeah, we're not nerds, but we met on LinkedIn and we started talking. And it was a really fun thing because I found her LinkedIn profile to be interesting and all. And yeah, we're going to dive into it. So Madisyn, tell us about Project Patriarchy.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, so there's so much to tell you about because even though we've only been around for a year on September 1st, we've accomplished so much, almost like a terrifying amount. But I first started it, 2 summers ago, because I was way under the voting age, 15. And in America, you still got a few more years. And I wanted to become involved in politics. I wanted to get invested in activism, except I didn't know how, because legally, I couldn't run for a government position. One, I wasn't qualified, but two, legally, I did not have the age requirement. But I also couldn't vote. And people looked at me and they saw a teenage girl and they were like, oh my God, she should not be in politics. She should be in fashion or something. And to be honest, that's kind of what I wanted to be in. But point aside, I knew there were other people who felt confused like I did and that they wanted to make a change in the world. And so I created Project Patriarchy, and it's a nonpartisan nonprofit. We welcome all beliefs and all people throughout the entire world. We have 100 plus members all throughout 15 plus countries, and we create step-by-step resources on how you can get involved in the political hemisphere.
I found that to be really interesting about your whole thing because when I reached out to you, I saw your LinkedIn profile. You had more than 100 plus members, like you said, 15 plus countries, and the way you manage all of them, because you're convincing so many people to work for free. You're convincing 100 plus people to work for free for you. And I think that requires a good level of management, I would say. And yeah, a good power of convincing and to make them believe you. So what do you think made them believe in the idea?
Okay, that's a loaded question because for all nonprofits, it is so difficult. People's time is so valuable. And that's something I try to make a point to my members every single day because they don't have to volunteer. Morally, someone think they should, but really at the end of the day, you don't have to. You could be spending your time doing whatever else it is you want, and nobody's going to stop you, and that's fine. And it's really up to the person and up to what they want to accomplish in their life. And Project Patriarchy, at the beginning, we did not have the credentials, okay? We started as an Instagram account. We did not start as a nonprofit. It was utterly a mess, but I'm so glad to say we've grown so much, and it's probably our mission. It was a little difficult to set us apart from all the other nonprofits, but specifically, we're here to help introduce youth and young adults, no matter where you are, no matter who you are, into politics. And you don't see another nonprofit like that. Typically, it's zoned down to a specific political party or a person or an interest. And we welcome everyone. And as long as you're genuinely invested in helping youth involved in government, then come on in. So we'll give anyone an opportunity. And it's probably just that broadness, that specificity and genuinity, because we love what we do and every single member does. And I just couldn't be more thankful for the team and the environment we have. So it's just building that up and how we encourage others to take part along the way.
Okay, I wanted to add a point, and the second part was a counter question. So, which is firstly, like you spoke about building credibility. I think that was very tough for me also in the initial stages when I started my podcast. I used to reach out to a lot of people and they would not respond to me, obviously, because I didn't have credibility, because I had recorded one episode or something like that. And they would just not respond to me. Or if I did manage to find a direct way to reach out to me, they would just push it into the future. They would be like, we'll do it a couple of months later and all that stuff. And after I built it, it got a little bit easier. I wouldn't say it's very easy. It's just a little bit easier than what I started out with. But yeah, so I wanted to ask you, how do you build credibility? for a nonprofit organization?
Okay, Ayush, hearing no every single time you reach out to someone, story of my life. It's just embracing that rejection. It was so hard at first because of building that credibility, you have to believe that you're credible before anyone else believes you're credible. It's like fake it till you make it. And honestly, it works. I swear to God, it works because Project Patriarchy, we once again were an Instagram account. And I basically just started pumping out a bunch of posts straight from Canva's templates, just what I wanted us to look like, what I wanted our brand kit to look like, what our vision board was, and basically what people could see whenever they followed us and what they can expect to continue to see. And I was just the only one doing that. And once people actually saw what we were going to turn into, what I was doing, they hopped on board and they were like, this is kind of neat. I want to do this myself. And so at first, it just took those several people that actually invested in us and took that chance, even though we could have been a flop. They joined us anyways. And it was those first 10 to 15 people that helped grow the first 30, the first 100, and so on. And so it's just believing in yourself. And in turn, you convince other people to believe in you. It's the art of persuasion, I guess.
Okay, I had this question. In the next 5 years, how big do you think will it become?
Wow. Okay. I love that question because I just had a yearly wrap-up meeting with our amazing, talented board. Love them so much. And we were going over our 2022 goals. And I cannot say all of them because there's some big things that we're going to try to accomplish this year. But it's just amazing because we've grown so fast and we know that we can grow even faster. And so by the end of this year, we definitely want to have more than 200 members. And judging by our statistics, it's definitely feasible. But throughout 5 years, I mean, we would love to have members throughout every single country in the entire world. Now, since there's hundreds, it's going to take a bit, but 5 years is a long time, and I have no doubt we can accomplish that. Just expanding our reach and doing it more in grassroots and genuine ways that we impact as many people as possible.
This might become the UN thing. Because the youth UN, I would say, because if you're having members from every country of the world and everyone's giving their opinions, they're working together for it and all, that would be exciting, I would say, definitely.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the UN's done some amazing things, just as long as I can help encourage these kids into politics, because I'll be able to vote in what I'm about to turn 17. And so almost a year, I'll be able to vote. But there's still so many people who don't have that opportunity and they don't know how to make a change. And that's where Project Patriarchy comes in. So I just really want to help them out.
Okay, so for the audience that doesn't know, what kind of post do you all put out and what exactly do you all do? What work do you all do? How do you all put out the post? And I was curious about this. What do all the team members do? Because if there are 100 members, what do they do?
Yes. Okay. So there's a lot of things that a lot of people do. If you actually get into the framework of Project Patriarchy, we have this very thorough application process. And so you go to this Google form and we have a ton of questions and they're very broad. It's like, how old were you whenever you knew you wanted to change the world? What are your interests? Some resumes, cover letters, etc. Just, the basic questions that you get in on any application, except the deal is we have, in the span of 1 year, more than 400 responses on it. And so, yeah, it's amazing that at the same time you have to go and read every single one. And some are just sentence answers. And so we have a 50% acceptance rate because there's just some people that are more performative than others. And once you get accepted, you have the opportunity to join one of our 20 plus teams. And so you could be a board member, you could be a cabinet member, you could be a regular member. But if you're a regular member, you go on one of our basic teams. So those are our writers, they create the articles. You could be on podcast, which probably what you'd be on. And you help with our podcast. You could be an interviewer, you do interviews and so on. And we've got everything from newsletter to artist to the board, which is myself and the executives of those teams and so on. So you're a member and you have a weekly deadline. And so if you're a writer, you'd have to write at least a little bit of an article every single week. And the goal at the end of the month is to have a full article. And then we get to put that on our website and share it with the entire world. And so the deadlines are specific to your team. But within each resource, what makes us especially different from other organizations is that we always have a step-by-step how to help process. So we're literally spoon feeding teenagers ways that they can change the world, and it's all unbiased. So we aren't trying to enforce a perspective upon our audience. We're trying to help them create their own perspective. And I just love what our team does, and they do it amazingly.
I think you're doing a great job at that, because I don't think I would be able to pull off something like this, especially at such a large scale, the way you're expanding. Like the plans for 200 people, it's crazy and it's great at the same time. But what was that? I had a question which actually slipped out of my mind. Wow. Okay, but
You're fine.
yeah, I was going to ask you this. How did you develop that? I mean, where do you think you developed those skills to understand people and convince them? Because, okay, so I was a part of a startup, and not this one. I was a part of a startup, and yeah, basically I had weekly records and all that stuff. I had to put in the work and all that stuff. And for me, I automatically got that motivation since it was a startup and I enjoyed working at it. But for something like a non-profit, how do you get them that motivation? Because they're not looking at any capitalistic gains from it. That's one thing. And secondly, how did you develop that leadership skill, I would say?
Okay, starting on motivation. That is such a good question. And it's so fitting for this year because we started 2020. And that sounds like we should be 2 years old, but no, we started at a point in 2020 where we're now a little over a year old, except there was an election then, and there is the Black Lives Matter movement, there is Asian Lives Matter, and so on. There's a lot of social justice movements. And so you saw a lot of young people get involved in sharing their voices and their perspectives. And so that's part of why I created Project Patriarchy then, because I felt so comfortable to do it. Because I was like, if I were to do this at any point in my life, it would be now. And I did that. And we had so much success because it was the right point in our lives. And whenever it was past the election, Joe Biden was elected, social justice movements were kind of dying down, people were going back to school in person, we did experience a decline in activity. It was a little bit of a shocker because you got to realize people aren't always invested, even though they say they are. So we had a lot of people who were like, yes, we're going to change the world. We are going to amplify young voices. You know, they were all about it. And then they started to reevaluate their priorities and not really want to get involved. And so people are going to come and go. That's part of the process. And at first I got really discouraged. And I feel like something that nonprofit leaders need to realize is that it's okay to feel vulnerable. It's just about using that as a way to benefit yourself and your organization. So we looked at that and we were like, okay, we need to make sure we're getting people who are always interested in changing the world and not just for a few months. And so that's what we've been doing. And we're picking up the pace. And how we develop that, trial and error, honestly. As you were saying, it has to do with that motivation and just specifying your audience and your reach and making sure you're getting the right people. And also going back into that trial and error, I myself joined a lot of startups. I like to volunteer in any way I can. I mean, I was a member of Beyond Resolved. I was their Florida chapter treasurer. I was the executive committee development for the Cosmos Championship. Basically anything. If I see an opportunity, I like to pursue it. And I learned a lot from them, to be honest. Beyond Resolve was the first organization that I joined that really inspired me to create my own. And I saw what they were doing, except I didn't entirely love every aspect. And so I was like, I'm going to take some parts, but I'm going to make it my own. And so if you can put your own twist on things and not exactly copy it, that is awesome. And so it's great to learn from others and use that to help others learn as well.
You know, just a bit of advice for you. Don't feel bad when someone leaves your organization thinking that there's something wrong with you, like you said, because when I joined the startup, I actually left it last week. I actually called him up in the morning, one of the founders, and I left it last week because I was skeptical and I wanted to focus on other things. But I'll tell you this, when I joined the startup, I had so much of energy and so much of fire that I wanted to work towards it and all that stuff. And just after a while, my priorities changed. So it's not with regards to you. I wouldn't say the founder did anything wrong with regards to that. It's just that there was something within me that made me feel that I can't do this anymore. I need to do something else. So yeah, just
Well,
one.
absolutely. It happens all the time. I mean, I just left one of my organizations that I volunteered at, and it's just sometimes you feel like you outgrow them and like you need to pursue other opportunities. And hey, if that's the reason why you're leaving my organization, I say go for it. You reach whatever goals you want. I don't want to stunt that.
But do you ever feel demotivated, like you want to end this or something, or like the low phase or something?
Well, like, does it ever get hard to keep it going?
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe.
See, yeah, I mean, there's been some moments. It's a little difficult sometimes because there's been some situations, even though I love the community that Project Patriarchy has, like I would say, and I know I'm totally being biased, it's probably the best nonprofit community out there. But they're so sweet and just so kind and caring and so grateful. And I'm so grateful for them. But yeah, sometimes it gets messy. Sometimes things fall apart. Sometimes we aren't reaching the goals that we plan. And I'm an ambitious person. So, that can happen sometimes. And sometimes I struggle to balance Project Patriarchy in my actual life because, like you, I mean, we're in the same grade. I'm a junior. I'm going to be going to college soon. I'm studying for my test. I'm trying to get enough sleep, and you can't always do that. And so sometimes I have to be like, hey guys, I can't make the meeting today because I just want to be by myself for a bit. And they're like, you're fine. You do so much all the time. You work 24/7. Go for it. And so you just have to learn that it's okay to feel that way once again, but you also have to learn how to get out of those sticky situations. And so it's just persevering is all. It's not always easy.
Because I've done that. Like you told me, like you just said that sometimes you have to let go of a meeting or something, and you say that, oh, I have to skip this meeting because I'm not feeling well or whatever. I've skipped podcasts that way because I've just felt like if I do this podcast at the moment, I won't be able to give it my 100%. And what will happen is it won't turn out to be that great.
No, absolutely. I'm one of those people too. I want to give someone 100%, like the entirety of myself. And if I can't be entirely invested, I don't want to do it because then it's just a lie. It's not actually me. I need to take a breather.
Yeah, but okay, so this is going a bit off Project Patriarchy now, but it's still fine, I guess. Which is, like you said, giving someone 100%. I realized that at a very young age, which is when I was 12 or 13 or 14. You know what happens is the way to build a bond with someone is when someone's talking to you, to give them 100% of your time, to listen to them and all. Because I've noticed this with a lot of people now. Even when I go out, they will have their phone in their hand. They're talking to someone while they're scrolling through it.
Oh my God. I hate that. It's one of my pet peeves. And purposefully, like my family, we aren't allowed to have our electronics at dinner. And if we do, we give each other the look because it's just rude, You could be on your phone. You could be like, I'm listening. No, you aren't. You can't scientifically do that. And so whenever I went and I had dinner with my friends over the holiday break, and it was nice because we got to see each other and we're still social distancing, but it was still nice because we hadn't seen each other in a while. And more than half the time they were on their phones. And I was just sitting there with my phone down, like, okay, guys, let's talk, let's chat, let's learn some things. But it's our generation is so obsessed with it. And it's awesome. They're great tools, but it's also great to just talk to each other like we're doing now.
But yeah, okay, I wanted to add to that. Just like you said, that dinner, like phones aren't allowed at your dinner table. It's literally the same. I know this might sound crazy, but even that's the same thing at my home, where phones aren't allowed at the dinner table. So during breakfast, lunch, and dinner, we're not allowed to use our phones. So even if while we're having a meal, if someone's phone is ringing, we wait for our meal to get over. We get up and then we answer or call back or whatever. So that's one thing which is like civil over there.
No, I love that. And the same thing here. Same thing.
Yeah, but I mean, I've been having that obsession lately with my phone though, which is like, okay, so I'll tell you this very funny story, which I'm not so obsessed, but I've noticed this. One of my friend actually told me this. He takes his phone to the bathroom and he's so obsessed with that. So like he's constantly, either when he's going there, he's listening to music or he's scrolling through feeds and all that stuff, which is kind of, like you said, technology is good, but it's getting freaky scary because now we're just relying on it completely and we're not relying on actual human connection.
Exactly. And I mean, tying it back into nonprofit, but also tying it back into every single day life. Like the ability to just look at someone and into their eyes and make a genuine connection and just talk to them, make words come out of your mouth, it actually requires a lot of skill. And we progress so much as a generation that I feel like we've progressed backwards sometimes because it's so difficult to communicate and to have those social skills. And it really, if you're invested in the conversation, it's not hard. But if you're sitting there and you're thinking of all the things you want to do after the conversation, or, oh my God, I have this call, I have this email, I have work, then you're not going to have that connection. And so without a connection, you can't have trust and you can't have opportunities and all of those good stuff that you want.
But what would be your suggestion to build trust?
Ooh, this is something that I really struggle with, vulnerability. You have to be able to be comfortable in yourself and also be comfortable telling someone about yourself. And so it's like just embracing that judgment-free zone. And sometimes that's hard because I'm like, what if they think this after hearing this? Or what if they don't want me to say that? And in politics, oh my God, that happens so much because people get so fired up over the tiniest things. And it's just like, look, can't we sit together, have a nice conversation, agree to disagree, and just treat each other like equals? It's not that hard.
Okay, so this may sound very fake because I'm agreeing to you on this, but trust me, if you look at some of my older podcasts, if you look at some of my older episodes, I've actually said this also, which is I have the habit of giving a piece of myself. So whenever I meet someone new, I've realized this is when you open up about yourself, when you give a piece of yourself, they feel comfortable talking to you and then they will start opening up to you. So it's always, like you said, vulnerability, opening up about yourself so that they can open up, and that's how you build trust. And trust me, right now, this may feel like I'm just agreeing to you, but if you look at some of my older podcasts, I've said that before.
I'm going to pull them up. Okay, you better not be lying to me.
But do you find it easy? Like you said, you struggle with opening up, but like, do you still open up, or how do you do it?
Oh, well, I think that's something I've always struggled with, honestly. And Project Patriarchy, it's helped a lot because we have people all throughout the world and we have people throughout every single political belief. So there is this person from Hong Kong who was from a political party that I had never even heard of. And here I am, the president of a political organization. I'm like, what? And so we'll just have these casual meetings. There are Wednesday meetings. It's every week. And we'll just sit in a Zoom room and we'll just talk. And, you know, it's always about fun things that are off topic, everyday life. And then it goes deep into politics like that. And we've established an environment where everybody somehow respects each other, even though some people disagree so much. And so I always go into a conversation knowing that I can learn from someone, even if I know I don't agree with them. And so it's taking those risks and embracing the uncomfortable, because I've learned personally, if something's uncomfortable to you, that means you're doing something new, and you learn from doing something new, and you grow from doing something new, and things come from doing something new. And so if you're uncomfortable, you're doing it right. It's nothing bad.
I mean, it can be a scary space also, though. So basically, for me, I've always been an open book since a very young age. I don't know why I have that habit. I literally amplify everything I'm doing. Everyone knows what I'm doing in my life. Everyone knows who I'm meeting. Everyone knows who I'm talking to and all that stuff. So for me, being an open book, I find it very easy to open up about myself and all that stuff. But there are times that sometimes when you may give out too much information, which can be used against you. So I've been in those situations also. So I think for me, I'm going correct in the part where I do open up, but I think I need to learn to see how much should I share and how little should I share, like keeping a balance between that, I feel.
No, absolutely. And it's so sad because not everybody has those honest and positive intentions like you and I. And I'm not here to say, oh my God, we're so better than everyone. But no, like we're here to have these good conversations like we are. And I do that too. I'll tell someone the most random, honest things. Like I feel like I lack some part of my brain that says, stranger danger, they are not your immediate friend. But whenever I sit down with someone, I'm like, we're besties, even though I've only met you for 1 second. And so people aren't always accustomed to that, and they're uncomfortable, and they don't know that being uncomfortable can be a good thing. And it's just that fear like you were talking about. They just need to learn to embrace it so other people can.
Yeah, I've seen that. You know, you've ever gotten judgment? Okay, so in India, I don't know, I've seen at least. I walk to someone and I'm like, I've seen someone, it's a friend. We're not really friends, we're acquaintances or something. And I'll be like, hey, I really like your shoes or something. And they're like, oh, okay. They get awkward or something out. So I'm not sure if I should continue it or not, but that's something which happens a lot.
Yeah, exactly. No, this happens to me at school every single day. And I am awful at names, but I am very good with faces. And so I'll see someone and I like to say hi or smile or give someone a compliment any chance I get, because just making people happy literally makes me happy. And that's part of why I have a nonprofit in the first place. And the mixed responses I'll either get a dead stare, I'll either get, oh, thanks, and then they walk off. Or I'll get the nicest answer, which is, oh my God, thank you so much. Hi, Madisyn, how are you? And it's those people I really cherish, and they make me keep opening up to people and being that open book and keep being vulnerable. And so they really make a big difference, whether they realize it or not.
Yeah, I think being that is really good. I mean, okay, this is a very random story. I don't think it's related to this also, but there's a watchman at our school. Yeah, there's a watchman at our school who's really sweet to me, really nice and helpful to me and all. And I mean, he's always nice to everyone, but I've noticed it. I go every morning and now I'm like, good morning, bhaiya. Bhaiya means brother, elder brother. So every morning I go up to him and I'm like, good morning, bhaiya. And if I meet him after like due to COVID, we had school today after like a month or so. So I'll ask him, how are you? And all that stuff and all. And it's really nice. You can see that smile on his face and all that stuff. So, I mean, yeah, it's not related to this, but yeah, I just had to share that. It was fun.
That made me feel good. No, I love that. And it's awesome if you can create bonds with people in your school or people that you'd least expect it. Because, like I was saying, those people that rarely, but they do sometimes give me those really just amazing and day-changing responses. I would love to have that same impact on them. And I'm sure you do with that person that you're talking about. And it's just, yeah, it keeps me going. It's ambition. And so, like, making people happy.
So what's your experience with school like in general?
Oh, well, I'm not going to lie. I didn't always love school. I really didn't. I've moved 15 times. And so I struggled a lot with gaining a consistent friend group, because whenever you're jumping around the United States, that's impossible. That's not feasible. And so elementary, I mean, I was just happy to be there, but I never really was always the most popular kid or had a lot of friends. And that's because I was very quiet. I loved to read, but I was super shy and very school oriented. And then I hit middle school. I got into a not so great group of friends. And then high school. And that's where I wanted to change. That's where I realized, oh my God, like my future is ahead of me. I can do whatever I want. And freshman year was whenever I got involved in speech and debate. And that changed me. If I had to pinpoint one instance in my high school life that just set me up forever, it would be speech and debate. I would not be the same person I am now, or would have taken me significantly longer if not for that. And so I started realizing I have a voice. I realized I was not shy. I became outgoing. I started to make more friends. I started to create like an image for myself, and also create an image for my grades. And I'm on honor roll now. I'm on National Honor Society. I'm on set to actually receive scholarships. And the fact that I know the sky's the limit now is amazing. And that's why I keep trying. And I'm very grateful for all the opportunities I've given. Yeah.
I think you've become a really good. I mean, I don't know you earlier. The part which I know you about now, it's really nice to communicate with you. I feel there's an easier way to. It's fine. It's very easy and comfortable to open up to you, to talk to you about various things. We had a conversation earlier also, and there was like no awkward moment that, oh, I don't know what to say now. What should I say? That wasn't there. Sometimes when you meet new people, you don't know what to say. That wasn't there. So I think that comfort level. Yeah, exactly. So I think that's not an issue with you. So yeah.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And honestly, it's those people skills, like we were talking about, just being shot down so many times. You learn to not shoot other people down and to really value others that do want to talk with you. And so, like with you, I sense no awkwardness. I love your podcast. I love what you do. I love you in general. Like, I'm just so happy to be on here. And like you told me whenever you pitched this to me, it's just a conversation. This is so much fun, and I'm learning so much and love it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. But, like you said, I want to share my high school experience with you. So basically in middle school, I was like in I think, yeah. So since till seventh grade, I would say I wasn't a very good kid at all. I was the notorious one. I was bad at academics. So when you're a notorious kid and you're bad at academics, that's a combination for disaster.
So, oh my God.
I was a disaster at that. Plus my communication skills, I wasn't really as kind, I would say. I would say there was a sense of arrogance, I would say. So I was a bit rude to people and all that stuff. And slowly after seventh grade, it kind of, I don't know, it just automatically started changing. I don't know how it happened or what happened. It just slowly started changing where I started becoming more different to the way I was looking at people, the way I was communicating with people and all that stuff. And in 10th grade, I think I met this really, really beautiful friend group. And it was actually my first friend group. Before that, I wasn't in friend group. I had individual friends. But I think once I got into the group, when, you find a sense of belonging and all, things got better. And that's when I also realized that you need to find a friend circle that is ambitious as you are. Because earlier in 10th, so I'll tell you this, I started my podcast in 10th standard. And I asked my individual friends about it. What's your thought on this and all? Should I start it and all? I'll tell you this, 90% of the people around me told me, don't start it right now. Start it in your vacations or something like that. Because we have an exam, we have a board exam. So the 10th exam, the 10th grade board exam and 12th grade board exams are considered to be very, very important. So most of the people who like, don't start it now, wait for your 10th grade exams to end and all that stuff. And the people in my friend circle who are like ambitious as I am, they were like, you should go for it. Nothing much will happen. So I started agreeing to the advice, listening to the advice. And I can tell you this, it's the best decision of my life because every day has been so much of learning because I get to meet new people. I get to talk to them. I get to hear their stories, their experiences. And it's like the best thing I feel.
That makes me so happy to hear. And I'm not even the one doing the podcast. Like, you're so grateful for it. And I'm so glad that you got to meet that group of people because it's just amazing how people can change you, especially if it's in a positive way. And yeah, school, it's difficult because sometimes it can interfere. But at the same time, you can learn so much more from a podcast or a nonprofit than you would from school because school is not going to teach you people skills. It's not going to teach you how to network or how to set up a podcast or how to create a website and so on. It's going to teach you subjects, and you do need that, but you also need to explore what you want to pursue later on in life. And so I'm very glad that you got the chance to do that because I know you're going to take it to some amazing places. It already has been, but
Okay. I mean, yeah. Okay. I don't know how to respond to praises. So I'm just going to say thank you so much for that. Because like that's one thing which I've struggled with my whole life. Whenever someone's praising me, I'm just like smiling and I'm like, yeah, thank you so much. That's the only thing which I do know how to react to that.
Well, you deserve it. I mean, you've been through so much, even though maybe you feel like you don't deserve it since you were in a bad spot in school previously, but you really do. You really do. And it takes a lot of time and you don't have to accept this. If it makes you uncomfortable, it's okay. But remember, embrace the uncomfortable, Ayush. Embrace it.
I'm going to give my standard reply. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I'll take that.
Do you have any like dark stories with regards to school, your lows or something like that to share?
Like, specifically what stories?
Okay, I'll give you an example and then you can let me know if it's fine or no. So I was actually bullied in 9th grade because I had a unibrow. So one of my classmates... Yeah, so what happened was one of my classmates created a meme page around it because I had a unibrow and all that stuff. And he didn't agree to take it down. I tried taking it down and all that stuff. He didn't really accept that. I didn't want to take it to the teachers because what would happen was then everyone in school would also come to know. And I was scared that, I don't want so many people to know about it and all that stuff. So what I did was that back then, I think only everyone in my batch knew about it and all that stuff. And there were some people in the higher classes and lower classes that knew about it, but I didn't want that to spread. So what I did was instead of going to the teacher, I emailed Instagram saying that this person's been doing this, blah, 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 blah. I'm not very comfortable. This meme page is based on my pictures and all that stuff. So please have it removed down. And 2 days later, the page was removed down. very thankful for Instagram for that. But yeah, that happens. So that
What?
was a very hard time. And you also, like I said, a lot of my individual friends, I came to know kind of that were these the right ones for me or not? Because when I told them stop following that account or please report that account, they were like, oh, we can't do it and all that stuff. He will feel rude. The other person who bullied me, they were like, we're friends with them also, and we are friends with you. So he will feel rude about it and feel bad and all that stuff. So as much as we want to report it, we can't do it and all that stuff. So it gave me like a glimpse of who I know who are my actual friends and who are just faking over that. So I think it was a
Yeah.
scary phase, but a good phase, I would say.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, that just opens up a whole can of worms for me because I have had so many experiences like that. I'm so sorry you had to go through that. That sucks. But I'm letting you know, I've been through so many ones that are so similar, and I very much sympathize. But
So
yeah,
are you comfortable
well,
sharing some of those stories?
yeah, absolutely. It's just hard for me to find a specific one because there's so many.
Okay.
I mean, bullying for me, it I can't exactly pinpoint the first instance. I know it happened probably right when I started school. For some reason, I feel like I've always been an easier target because I'm just so nice. And I know me saying I'm so nice does not make me sound so nice, but I genuinely try to be as nice as I can. Like, I'm not afraid telling people no, setting boundaries, or just like telling them off in general. But I don't like creating conflict. And that's why a lot of people were surprised I want to go into politics. And I'm like, no, it doesn't have to be all negative. You don't understand. And so, yeah, there's been so many instances. I mean, starting high school, too, I did not have a lot of friends freshman year, not one bit. And so, freshman year, I dedicated my entire goal not to my studies, but to finding people to be friends with. My grades plummeted. It was not good. Sophomore year, we were virtual. I didn't know anyone. And so, for the entirety of sophomore year, did not have any friends because I moved again. And it's like, how can you keep friends if one, you're isolated, and two, if you keep jumping around? And at my current school, it's a mixed environment. It's like, I believe, the best school in the state. It's a private public high school, so like you have to pay a fee to be in it. But just the environment here, and someone from my school might listen to this, and I guarantee you, if they do, I am not afraid because they will completely agree with me. It is so toxic. It is so over competitive, and everybody's out to get another person. And like, I can't say any names, but I remember towards the beginning of the school year, once again, I didn't know anyone because we had just come out of virtual, and I was going to find a seat at lunch, and I didn't know anyone in my lunch. And I'm a junior, like I'm an upperclassman. And so people should be wanting to sit with me, but it's not like that. And so I sat down with someone, and it was these two freshman girls. And I was like, hey guys, I tried to introduce myself, once again, not having that stranger danger barrier. And they just looked at me up and down, and they're like, hi. And I said, okay, nice to meet you. And then they looked at each other and they said, do you want to go sit somewhere else? And the other girl said, yeah. And they picked up their stuff, left, and I was sitting alone. And I sat alone for probably the first month and a half of school. Yeah. I know. But I mean, now I see people sitting alone, and I try to do whatever I can to make them feel included. And so sometimes you just have to be in those gross, difficult situations to know what people are going through. And adding on, I'm in speech and debate. And so debate is literally built from the ground on competition. And I hate competition. Like, I feel like we should all be embracing each other and encouraging each other to save the world, like work together. That's how you become more successful as a person. You shouldn't be always trying to put other people down. But in debate, I either find someone who is my favorite person ever, or someone who wants something from me. And so I am a congressional debater. I have been to nationals. I've been to state. I've competed and placed in very prestigious tournaments. And I say that not to like show off, but to just established credibility. And I got people from my freshman year 2 years ago who messaged me over the summer. Well, 3 years ago, actually, who messaged me over the summer. And they're like, hey, I know it's been like 3 years, but I'm going to this national tournament and I know you do Congress. They asked for my speeches. I've had so many people ask for my work, not how I'm doing, but just for things from me. And it's like, why do you care about what I do as opposed to who I am? It's so rude and it makes you feel so bad about yourself sometimes. But then it's like a compliment because, oh, they think I'm good. They think I'm talented.
Yeah, I think that can be like a very weird phase. So for me, what I do is I've been in that phase, like you said, being alone and all. I was a loner earlier at a young age. I didn't have too many friends and all that stuff. So I was a loner. I've been through that. So what I do is now, I've been doing this for the past 3 or 4 years now, is which I make it a point to stay in touch with everyone. So all my friends, even if it's been 3 or 4 months, I will drop them a message just to check on them, or I will call them up. Like on New Year's, I called up almost all my friends in my contact list, wishing them New Year, just catching up with them, saying how are they and all that stuff. So like you said, staying in touch with them. And secondly, like you said, getting those requests. I actually got those requests. So I'll tell you this. I won't give you any names. I won't give you any names, but I remember this kid because I went through our Instagram chat back in 8th grade. Okay. So, I mean, so I went through his Instagram chat previously and he was very, very rude to me in 8th grade. Okay. The way he spoke to me, he swore in those chats and all. And I was like, okay, that's bad and all. But yeah, so I was kind of okay with that in 8th grade and all. And very recently, actually, 6 months back, like I told you, because of my podcast, I got in touch with some of India's biggest businessmen. So he wanted to get in touch with one of them for some reason. And he asked me, how should I connect with them and all that stuff. And you could have seen the difference. I don't know if he changed with time or he was just being nice with me or whatever. And so he asked me. So I actually literally typed his whole email for him on how he should reach out to this person. I gave him the email ID of the person I knew and all that stuff. And yeah, I did that. But it's a scenario where I don't know if it's like a thing where they're actually reaching out to me because they've changed and become better people and are nice now, or is it because of what I've done?
No, I'm so glad that you didn't reach out to the businessman for him. Like, you typed up the stuff, you did not get walked on. It's definitely because of what you've done. I mean, I hate to be that way, but you've got this amazing podcast and you have such an abundance of contacts. And it's like, if people don't want to be friends with you, they want something from you. And like in the nonprofit world, you would think it's all happiness and rainbows. No, no. I've had people, like on 3 different occasions, copy and paste things from Project Patriarchy and create their own organization. It's so dirty. I mean, thankfully, we've taken them down. And I've had so many instances like that. So one time we had a member who, oh my God, this is an entire situation. I was friends with her. She was on my debate team. I knew her in real life. We were so close. And she split off, created her own organization, and started messaging people from Project Patriarchy to join hers. And yeah, I didn't know until like weeks into this. And I flipped because I was like, girl, we used to be best friends. We sent each other Secret Santa gifts. What is up? I'm going to have to block you now. No, why'd you do this? So yeah, it happens to the best of us, unfortunately.
So how do you deal with that? But okay, wait, I'll tell you actually a thing and then I'll ask you that. So like I told you about that part earlier, which is that I'm not sure if these are like actually reaching out to me because they're nice or whatever and they want to be friends, or it's because of the work. But you'll find this very funny. The closest friends who were the ones who supported me back in 10th grade, they really don't care who I reach out to and all that. I mean, they care in a positive way that they're happy for me, but it's not like you can see them saying that, oh, please do me this favor or do that favor and all. They still joke about me and all. They look at me the same lens that they looked at me back then, versus the new people, they look at me in a completely different lens, I would say. So that's one thing which I've noticed. Mm-hmm. And yeah, the question which I wanted to ask you was, how would you deal with that? Like, your friend, she was your close friend, and then she went it out on you. She changed teams and all that stuff, started her own organization. So how would you deal with that?
Oh, Well, it was a long situation. I mean, communication, once again, I did not have the skills for that situation because I never gone through it before. I wouldn't have wanted to, but I guess thankfully now I did, because I learned a lot about how to address the conflict and how to be respectful while doing it, though. Because here I am, someone that doesn't like to make up conflicts and messy situations. And here was a girl who was literally doing just that. Like, she thrived on that. She thrived on negativity. And so it was like positivity going against negativity, butting heads every single time. And so I talked with her a lot. Like, we're talking days of talking, and it was just being nice, killing them with kindness, I would say, and applying this to politics in general, because I like to do that. I mean, you see it on the national level and international. There's something called soft power and hard power. Hard power is employing military and using force. Soft power is using NGOs and funds and treaties, and soft power always works better. Does it take longer? Yes. And so that's the route that I like to take. I like to take longer, but make sure that everybody's respected. Nothing bad is done. I mean, that you're just trying to be as nice as possible. And sometimes that's all you can do. But it's not fun for sure. And nobody likes to be put in those situations. And it's scary, because you work on something for so long and people might judge you for it. And people might try to take all that work and use it as their own in a matter of seconds. And so you just got to look out for yourself sometimes and just be strong.
Yeah, I've seen that. Okay, so this is not related to this. I wouldn't exactly say related to this, but a thing which I've learned in reaching out is whenever you're emailing someone, whenever you're messaging someone, what they do is they will copy paste the same email and send it to 30 other people. And the thing is, there's no personalization in that. So once you do that, the person who's reading it will know that it's copy pasted. So yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, like, since we were talking about copying, I think that thought came up in my mind. And so a lot of people I reached out to, the reason why they said yes to me is also because they felt that this wasn't copy pasted. Whenever I reach out to someone, it's personalized. I will actually go through all their work, see what they've done, find it. If I find it interesting, I will mention it and then reach out to them. So yeah, I mean, not related to this, but yeah.
No, I am guilty of copy and pasting. That's probably why I don't do a lot of the outreaching for Project Patriarchy. I am an efficient person. And whenever you were talking about checking in on all of your friends and texting them, I struggle with that. I am such a bad texter, first off. Like, I just went through all 300 of my text messages. A lot of it was just spam and like Panera orders and stuff. But I struggle with keeping up to date with people and being the first person to reach out, but also carry on a conversation. Because sometimes selfishly, I feel like it's not using my time wisely, even though I love those people and I care about them, but I just try to be as efficient as possible. And sometimes whatever makes you happiest is as efficient as possible. And going back to copy and pasting, I need to work on like handcrafting a letter to someone that is specific for them. And because it's more successful. Does it take more time? Yeah, but it's so much easier to just like cut that little part and just go ahead and save a few seconds. But really, in the whole scheme of things, it's better to do what you're doing. And obviously it is, because you've scored some amazing people on your podcast.
Yeah, I would just say that like it helps you convert more. So you get to, if your conversion chance, your probability of them saying yes with the copy paste would be 25 to 30% versus when you've actually read their work, you've seen what they've done and all that stuff, it would be about a 70 to 80%, I would say. So that's why it would help more.
Yeah. Exactly. I agree. I'll have to start doing that.
No, I mean, it's not wrong. The part where you spoke about that you feel that you need to take out time for yourself, even though you love people and all. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So yeah, you do you on that part also.
Well, thank you. But it's also not good if you have 300 unopened text messages.
Wait, but I don't think you would know all 300 of them, right? Is it like, I mean, you don't use WhatsApp, but...
No. Okay, so 300, it was honestly a lot of spam. I'm signed up to like DNC party and all of these organizations and all of these clothing stores. And so they'll send me their promotional text messages, and it'll also just be some old people that I don't really talk to. And sometimes they'll just like message me and or ask for things. And so I'm just like not in the right headspace, except I use that motto so much where I'm like, you're in the right headspace. You can do it. It's just going to take 5 minutes. So I need to commit those 5 minutes. It's literally not a waste at all if you enjoy doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, for me, okay, so I'll tell you this thing about me. For me, I'm a person who actually loves communicating with people through any form, which is through text, video, audio, whatever. I love getting on a call. I love getting on a video call. I love texting just to catch up, see how they're doing and all that stuff. So a lot of people actually, I'm close to a lot of people and I know they are actually busy. So I don't have that ego barrier that, oh, this person's not replying to me, so I won't message them or something. Because there are some people like, I messaged them before, like in December, they didn't reply. Then I messaged them in New Year, called them up, and they were like, oh my God, I was so busy and all that stuff. So I don't mind like double, triple texting. I mean, I don't know if it's weird or not, but yeah, that's who I am.
We need more double and triple texters because I'm that person that's always busy. And my relatives just know at this point. I mean, they'll text me something and be like, hey, let's catch up. And I'll send them a message like 2 weeks later. And I'm like, I can catch up now. I'm sorry, I couldn't do it 2 weeks ago, but I'm here. I'm here with you. And we talked about this at like the beginning of the conversation, but it's giving 100% of yourself in that conversation. Like I cannot have a discussion with someone if I'm not fully there. And especially after like school, a long day of socializing, I just come home, get in my room, take a shower, get ready to go to bed, and I want to rest. Like I need to refill my social meter. I'm not fit to have 500 more conversations because I just did, you know?
Like, okay, you won't believe this. This actually happened yesterday with me, which is I had actually called up one of my friends for New Year. Like I told you, this is the same one. I reached out to her in December. She hadn't opened my text messages. I wished her New Year. She hadn't responded. And I'd called her up. She hadn't returned the call. And then just last night, she texted me, hey, you're free. I'm free right now. Are you ready to catch up? Like she literally messaged me that. And I was like, yeah, sure. Let's get on a call. And then we went on and I think spoke for around 1.5 hours. Just catching up about various things which we had to talk about and all that stuff. So it's like, I mean, I understand what you're going through. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And then you tend to have the best conversations because it's a good time for everyone. And that's so difficult because you live in India. I live in the United States. I mean, in my organization, I will have to talk with someone and I'm like, okay, can we do 5 p.m. CST? Because that's what it is for me right now. And they'll be like, I'll be waking up at that time, so no. Or they're going to bed at that time. And so it's awesome that technology gives us access to so many people, but sometimes technology isn't even enough because just physically you can't talk to someone as they're going to bed. It just doesn't work out. And so that's always a little tricky to sort out.
You know, I'm going on a different topic now, but okay, so you said you get a lot of Instagram DMs and all that stuff, correct? So is it hard being a woman in America also? Because in India, I would say it's very hard because a lot of my close friends, even I have an elder sister, they get a lot of creepy DMs also. So is it like hard even there? How does it happen?
Yeah, so a funny story. I didn't change my Instagram account to public until this year. And I figured out, I mean, if because I'm doing so many panels and podcasts and just discussions with people, I have an online presence. Like if you Google me, it's kind of scary. Pictures of me will pop up. My interviews will pop up. And I'm like, whoa, because I wasn't prepared. And so I wanted to have an account where people could come to me and talk to me if they wanted to. And like, thankfully, I've gotten so many awesome messages. Like people have found me and they've been like, your interview really inspired me. Your work on Project Patriarchy, I love it. How can I get involved? And so on. And so I cherish those so much. But you also get some messages that are not amazing. I mean, we all know the bots. We all know the scary people. But we also know the people that don't exactly agree with what you're doing. And so I gotten some people just tell me to like, I can't say anything on here because I don't want to like say it out of my mouth, unfiltered. But I've just had some disagreements with what I do. And I'm not a controversial person, and just a woman in politics in general, a woman who's vocal, a woman who's just trying to pursue what she wants to pursue, even if it's not societally accepted. Not to be that way, but it's always a struggle. And I've gotten looks because I've been told I talk like a valley girl. I've been told I wear pink too much. And it's like people use that to evaluate what they think of me instead of what actually comes out of my mouth. And so rerouting that to Instagram, yeah, there's some not great messages, but there's also some really good ones. So I guess they balance each other out. Just don't go to my comment sections because that's where I have no control.
No, but I think the judgment part needs to be removed in the society we say. Oh, so I'll tell you this story. I have a friend. She's a content creator. So she puts out all these reels and different stuff and all. And she gets really nice messages at times. But she's also gotten rape threats for random reason, for no reason at all. Mm-hmm. So I think that's like a very, very challenging thing in India, especially that's happened. So I don't know about the situation there, but it definitely does happen here. So
No, I've heard from members that live in India in Project Patriarchy that are women, and that it's a bit of a struggle. But what's sad is that it's kind of a struggle everywhere. And a content creator, I could imagine, because you're putting yourself out there as your job. Like getting criticism and feedback from people is something you do to make a living. And so, I mean, just having a presence, like a personal account right now, is difficult. I can't imagine having to do that every single day and keep it going. So kudos to her.
But did you ever feel that you wanted to like cut off all of your online presence and remove your carbon footprint or everything of it, like everything on the internet of you just disappears? Have you had that thought?
Yeah. And it goes to the question that you asked me earlier. And it's like, have you ever wanted to stop having Project Patriarchy or to just end it all? And sometimes it's easy to, I don't know if you ever feel this way, get embarrassed about what you do because other people aren't doing it. Like people my age and our age, because I guess we are the same age, they aren't typically having their own podcast. They aren't typically talking to millionaires and politicians. They don't have their nonprofit. And so it's part of standing out that is hard to grasp sometimes. And it's hard to realize that you need to feel comfortable in that, and that it's okay, that it's okay, because that means you're doing something right. You're changing the world. And that means nobody else is doing it, but someone has to. And so, yeah, sometimes I like look at my account and I do what's called rebranding, but that's like my personal term for it. Well, I'll just wake up one day and I feel like I've grown as a person. I need a new social media account. I need a new identity and whatnot. And so sometimes it's easy to compare yourself to other people, even though they're not doing the same things as you, but you feel like you should be, if that makes sense.
Okay, about that thing. So yeah, I'll tell you one thing about this videos thing so I was very lucky. So initially when I started content creation, this was back in 8th standard or 9th grade, I think. The first videos I put out were like videos of these fluffy motivational videos with a fake accent, So
what?
I kind of,
what accent?
Yeah, I'm not going to say it now. Let's just leave it out. So I had those videos deleted. So yeah, after a couple of months doing that, I realized that this isn't what I want to be known as. This isn't the legacy that I want to leave. And I could delete it. And thankfully, I didn't have any subscribers or followers or people who were watching me. Do you know anyone must have saved it or anything? So yeah, I had those deleted and all that stuff. But yeah, also I wanted to come to the part where you said people about your age our age not doing the same thing and all that stuff. Have you felt left out of conversations because you don't know what they're talking about? Because a lot of conversations, I wouldn't say necessarily holding a podcast comes in the cool part, or having a nonprofit comes in the cool things to do. So versus when everyone of our age is having a different conversation, more of the cooler things, I don't know what to say or do.
Yeah. Okay. So if you're someone who knew me like 3 months ago, if you went on my Instagram, just because we were talking about that, using it as an example, my bio had links to all the profiles and organizations I was with. And I was with the Cosmos Championship then, and then I had Beyond Resolved and Project Patriarchy. And in my little link that I put in my bio, it said student activist leader. It was a card with me and, information. And then whenever I started realizing like my account was being seen by people at school, I was like, I'm coming off a little strong, and not everybody likes that. And so, yeah, judgment and being left out of certain conversations, having moved so much and having such a struggle with making friends at times, definitely. And sometimes I try a little too hard to be a part of those conversations, when in actuality, you just got to sit and let it go by and include yourself at times, but not over include. And so it's like finding that balance of not being like everyone else, but at the same time reading the room.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about that part exactly. I'm still trying to figure that whole part out, because I want to be included in the conversations. And if I'm not included, what happens is there's a sense of imposter syndrome. And if I'm not included, or even if I am included, at certain times I don't really know what to say or what to do or what they're exactly talking about. Because I'll tell you this, a lot of guys that I know right now, most of their conversations will be revolving around girls, alcohol, and all that stuff. And I'm not sure what should I talk about in that, because my thought process is running at a different pace or a different thing. So I do feel left out at that part.
Yeah, no, that happens not just with myself. I mean, even my siblings, my brother, he's in middle school. He's going through that phase where kids are just cesspools of negativity, and it's not great, and they're very mean to each other. And whenever I was younger, I was always interested. Once again, I loved reading, but I was also interested in things that older kids were interested in, things that people my age would not even understand or fathom or look at. And that even happens today. I mean, I have different interests, you have different interests, and sometimes I'll hear the discussions that girls are having, and it's nice because I guess societally they're allowed to have more interests and have more of a personality and individualism, but also there's just like that status quo. You can't be too vocal about what you believe in, you can't be too controversial, you can't be too smarty or else you're a nerd, but you can't not care about school or else you're in the not right crowd. And so there's always that judgment, and sometimes it feels like I'm not doing anything right no matter how hard I try. But then you think, oh, imposter syndrome, I can't change myself to please other people. And then you also think, but I want to grow and I want to be involved. And so it's always like those conflicting ideas. And sometimes it makes you wish that you can just turn your brain off and exist and be your own person and not have people be that way.
But, okay, so you spoke about judgment and all that stuff. So obviously with that, after I'll tell you this is my experience. I've lost a lot of friends. So how do you deal with losing people around you? I know it's going to a little bit of a different topic, but it's connected to this in a sense, I would say.
Yeah, no, absolutely it is. I mean, it's such an important topic because it happens. It really does. People come and go. And with moving so much, like I had some very good friends, and it took me a while to make those friends in elementary because that's whenever I started moving. And I was very sad to leave them. And I remember being alone at the lunch table so many times, not just like at the beginning of this year. It happens to the best of us. And as I moved, I was always that person that was leaving. And so I guess it kind of made my heart a little cold at times because it was so easy for me to pick up my stuff and leave. And I was fine. Because
just a second, really sorry to interrupt, but
no, I haven't.
Okay, so we've spoken twice, and no offense, I don't find it to be cold at all because I find it so warm. No, can you hear me? Can you hear? Oh, yeah. Okay, so I was saying that we've spoken twice, and at both the times, I've not found you to be cold at all. I've found you to be completely warm and open. So, yeah.
I appreciate that. It is good to have that checkup and that reassurance. But like the ability to detach yourself from someone and be okay with it, I guess I just always thought like you're supposed to hold on to people once you know them, kind of like you do, you send them texts and you like to keep in contact. And that's something that I'm still trying to learn more of. And like, Even with my organization, I mean, touching back to that, people come and go. I become so attached to people, like that one girl I was talking about that made her own organization. And I guess sometimes I see too much of the good in people to where it blinds me from the fact that there's red flags, there's warning signs, maybe they're not as good as I thought. And so the worst is having to have someone removed from your life or cut yourself off from someone toxic, and they meant so much from you or to you, you know.
Yeah, I've been having that. I've been having a hard time at that because what happens is once I'm close to someone, I find it really hard to cut off from them. And there was this is very weird story because now there was this person, she and I were really, really good friends. And now there's a situation where she doesn't want to be friends. But the issue is I still do want to be friends. So now it's like a weird scenario. And yeah, I've been having a hard time moving on and cutting off from that part. But yeah.
No, story of my life, Ayush. Oh my God. So virtual last year, I only saw people from like their Instagram pages or on Zoom. And honestly, through Zoom, you can't make friends. Let's be honest. You have the little chat box, but that's it. I mean, you might go in breakout rooms, but that's it too. And so there would be people that I hear about, and especially on debate, because I love debate. It's one of my things. And I always make the best friends through that. And so I've heard of people that I have similar interests with, you know, just through the grapevine, just through other contacts that I had. And I was like, I want to be friends with these people. It's like you idolize someone so much that you want, like, you know, you need to have a friendship with them. And whenever I finally got to the school, I saw those people in real life and I would like fangirl. I'd be like, oh my God, this is it. We're going to be best friends, besties for the resties. And then whenever I started talking to them, they hated me. It's like there's people now that I wanted to be friends with so bad, except they either ignored me, they did not like me, the responses were rude, or they just turned out to be the people that I didn't want to be friends with. So, I mean, maybe it's for the best that we didn't end up being friends because they're so rude in that way. But it's like, wow, okay, way to go, way to shun me away. I thought you were awesome, and now you're not.
But how would you deal with that then?
No, I guess persevering once again. Like, I hate to say that. I hate to say suck it up and be strong. But at the end of the day, that's what you got to do for yourself, because there's going to be those people that you idolize, that you want to be friends with, and that actually do want to be friends with you too, and that actually idolize you as well. And so just the worst, I personally, and this is a little off topic, is whenever I see super successful people that are awful people. Like, there's people around me that are accomplishing these amazing goals and doing these awesome things. And I love that for them. Like, I congratulate them. And I think they're setting an amazing representation, except they aren't, because the way they treat other people in their environment is the complete opposite of their accomplishments. And so it's like, be a good person and also do good things.
Yeah, I've seen that actually. So I know a lot of people who've like actually played so they play sports really well, and they've played sports at the national level and the state level and all that stuff. And they have a sense of arrogance towards them, you know, that, oh, I'm better than you, I'm greater than you and all that stuff, which really doesn't match up to the vibe, which if they want to go ahead, it shouldn't be that vibe which they should hold, which I feel.
Oh, exactly. And it makes you not want to be happy for them because they can't be happy for anyone else. And it just happens too often. And it doesn't even matter the field. I mean, I bet there's a fair share in podcasting. There's some nonprofits. I mean, debate, that's a huge deal because once again, it's built upon competition. Everyone feels the need to be better than each other. But it's also school as well. Like, if you don't have straight A's, you can't be with a certain group of people. And it's like, growth isn't linear. It's a squiggle, okay? If you're not supposed to have these specific steps that you accomplish, it's different for everyone, and not everyone has the capacity to see that.
Well, okay, this is a very interesting story. I'll tell you this. So it's kind of off topic, but you said about straight A's, right? So the current friend group that I am in right now, like I said, I'm not very good in academics. I'm an average student, and these guys are like the top of the class guys. So they are all straight A's. And it's funny because we are not nerds, they have a balance of life that we need to have fun. We need to also think about our future. So they have these straight A's and they're like fun people and all. And I'm like the only one who I would say in the whole circle, in the whole group, who is not so academically inclined. And yet, I felt so open and welcome with them. And that's why I said having an ambitious circle really helps, because they actually pushed me to go ahead and work with myself. So yeah, it was general and not related, but yeah.
No, I was just so happy you found that group of people, because it's hard to find people who are both successful and both welcoming of others who find success in different ways. And like, I really dislike how school has become so oriented on that straight A factor, because I mean, it's not about straight A's, except everybody says that. And whenever you get into colleges and you have to send in your GPA and your transcript, the colleges don't think that. The colleges think straight A's. They don't see the hours that you've put into your classes, the sweat, the blood, the tears. They just see, 4.0 or not. And then they swipe you aside if not. And so it's really gross, especially the fact that everybody comes to the United States for those colleges, and colleges aren't as accepting. And so I feel like, education system, it's messy, but we need an attitude adjustment.
Okay, I'll tell you this. In India, what happens is, in India, everyone thinks that the US education system is so good and the Indian education system is really terrible and bad. And so that's why I think everyone wants to come there. But then, because everyone thinks that it's not straight A's, I'm not sure what it is. Because I'll tell you what we've been told here. The image over here about the US education system is, that grades don't really matter. It's how your essay is. They want to know who you are as a person and all that stuff. And this is kind of the opposite of what the dreamy image that we have. What you said, yeah. So what is it exactly like? I'm just curious.
Well, I'm still figuring that out for myself, quite honestly. Next year, I'll be able to send in applications to colleges. And as a first-generation college student, like, nobody in my family has done this. Like, my mom went to college, my dad did not, and my mom didn't finish college, except she didn't have a lot of guidance. Like, her parents just kind of put her in whatever classes that they heard was best, and they weren't really involved in her education, and that's why she didn't finish college. But I don't have that guidance, because my parents don't know, my siblings don't know because they're younger, and people around me don't know because they're still figuring it out as well. And so the process, it's more of like, you just try your hardest, quite honestly, and everyone is different. But the basic person tries to get straight A's, and a lot of people, it depends upon what you want to pursue. A lot of people go to community colleges, and a lot of people stay in them. But people that want to go into government tend to shoot for Ivy Leagues. And that's also an issue if you don't have the funds, or you're first generation and your parents aren't going to pay for all of your tuition. And so you got to figure out how to pay for it yourself. And like, if you're coming from India, you more often than not will get a full ride because you'll be from another country. And that's awesome for you guys, but not so much for myself, because I'm still over here struggling.
But is it easy to get student loans for y'all? Because I've heard like America, people relate America to student loans. Everyone comes out of college with student loans and all that stuff. So what is it like?
Yeah. It's easy to get student loans. It's not easy to pay them, though. And so I would love to not have student loans. And that's why I'm looking at schools that have awesome financial aid. I mean, Princeton is my dream school. Yes, it's an Ivy League. Yes, it's insanely expensive, but it's like the 6th or 9th best political science university in America. And their federal aid is amazing. And for me, that's a really big deal, because I want to accomplish these awesome things, but unfortunately, to do so, you have to have an awesome amount of money. And you see that in politics all the time. It's like money buys power, and that should not be the case at all. Even in our education, it's just, it doesn't make sense.
I think it will hopefully change with our generation bringing in new thoughts and ideas, and I don't know, the system becoming more open, because a lot of things that we're studying is like 30 years old, which doesn't even make sense. I'll tell you this. Okay, so there's this very funny thing in India. They're using Microsoft. I think they're using Microsoft, a very old version of Microsoft, for studying computers, while everyone in the world uses Windows 10 and Windows 11. They are using Windows XP or something like that. That's what they're teaching us in. So if you look at the systems and all, it's not matching up to today's technology.
Yeah. I mean, that's very different from the United States. And I guess that's why a lot of people from India, I mean, you know it best, but they come over to the United States because statistically, yes, we have the best colleges. But also, if you look at the colleges, it's the environments that really impact your learning. Like Harvard, it's a super, unfortunately, toxic and competitive environment, and it's very crowded from what I have heard. And I want to find myself at a school where it's like a little tinier. You can talk to people, you can get to know them, and it's also positive. And you're like trying to encourage each other to actually accomplish what you want to accomplish.
But okay, so I have a friend in Harvard actually, and the reason why he told me is basically why people really go for these colleges is to meet more competitive people. So you get into that competitive environment and you meet like-minded people and all that stuff. So you either get along really well with them and you'll work on your startups together or whatever, or it just creates a spirit of healthy competition. I'm not sure if he said, I don't think he finds it toxic. I mean, I don't know. I've not been in that environment, so I can't say if it's toxic or not. But he really loves that environment because it pushes him to be better. That's what he said.
Yeah. And hey, whatever works best for someone at the end of the day, that's what matters. I mean, in thinking now, I could go anywhere for college. And that, I mean, same for you. Nobody really knows what's going to happen until they submit an application form. And it's just a little sad that students have to prep so far in advance for college. I mean, I'm excited because I think it's personally going to be some of the best years of my education because, I mean, think about it. You get to go to an area of school dedicated to just what you want to do later in your life. And I know people from Harvard, I know people from Wharton, UPenn, etc. And it is about those connections. And if you have the skills to socialize with them, to understand with them, to be vulnerable, create those connections, yeah, go for it. At the end of the day, whatever works best for you.
Yeah. Okay. So I was going to the next part of it, which is like, okay, so I have a bunch of questions, which are like very, very random. Whatever first thought comes in your mind, you have to answer it. Okay. Okay. Where are these? Yeah, it's a rapid fire round. Okay. So I usually ended up for the 28 a.m. podcast. I usually ask my friends these rapid fire questions. Okay. So you ready for this? Okay.
Okay.
Which is your favorite? Yeah. Whatever comes up first in your mind. Okay.
Okay.
Which is your favorite band or musician?
Glass Animals or Joji.
Okay, I've not heard that, but I will definitely, if you could share a link or whatever, I think I will check it out.
Yes. It's an American thing.
Second one, which is your favorite superhero character?
Ooh, Doctor Strange.
Okay, you're a Marvel fan. I want to elaborate on this answer. I'm a very huge DC fan, so I'm not too much into Marvel, but I don't like the DC movies actually. I love the DC shows. So you should actually check out the DC shows. There's a show on Flash, there's a show on Green Arrow, there's a show Legends of Tomorrow, there's Supergirl. You will really love those shows. I don't know why.
Yes. Okay, I'll check it out if you check out Glass Animals.
Okay, I don't know what that is.
It's the band I said.
Oh, okay, the band. Yeah, okay, I will check it out. And yeah, you can start with the DC shows. They are epic. And you will thank me for that.
Okay, will do.
Okay, so the third one, what do you want to be remembered as? What do you want people to remember you as?
Ooh. Oh my God, that's so loaded. Creating a better world. Because that's so broad. I mean, you don't even know how I'm going to make it a better world. We'll just find out.
No, but I think you're really doing it. I think you're killing it right now by doing that because of the way Project Patriarchy is going. And yeah, the way you talk to people, the way you communicate with people and all. So I think you're doing a great job at that.
Oh my God, thank you, Ayush. That means a lot.
Okay, and the last thing, which is actually 3 questions, but okay, 3 things in your bucket list.
My bucket list? Okay. Wow. I would love to move to DC. That is one. I want to travel out of the country. I would love to. Oh, okay. Sistine Chapel. Ever since I was a kid, I was just enamored by the artwork. I love it. I'm a huge art nerd. I want to go there for some reason. I feel like it would be so much fun. And Working in Congress would probably be my third one because that's also a dream I had since I was young. And I think that'd be such a blast.
I think all of them will happen very, very soon because the way you're moving forward with it, I'm really excited for your future. And yeah, I mean, just knowing you is really cool, I would say.
Oh, thank you. Knowing you is even cooler. And if I can ask, what are 3 things on your bucket list?
I mean, it's not really matching up to my goals, but yeah, okay. One of them is actually, so I mean, people will judge me for it or not, I'm not sure. Since a very young age, I've wanted to be a billionaire. So
yes, you got
I
this. You're gonna do good things with your money, so I trust you. You're gonna be awesome.
Okay,
you got it.
Yeah, so that's one of the things in my bucket list. And second one is a very weird one, which is not related at all, is visiting Australia. Because I find the coral reef spot to be really beautiful. So I want to do the scuba diving part in Australia, check out their desert, check out the mountain. I think that's one continent that has all forms of regions, like all different types of regions and terrains within them. So definitely going like on a long 1 or 2 month trip over there, exploring it and having fun. So these are like 2 things in my bucket list, which I want to do.
Oh, that's awesome. I love those. The Australia one, oh my God. Same. Sounds so cool.
Okay, Madisyn, it was amazing having you. Thank you so much for joining in. Would you have, okay, this is actually a line of my main podcast, but I'll still ask you, would you have any advice for anyone who's listening to this?
So if you're thinking of doing something right now and you've been considering it for a while, it could be a project, it could be texting someone, it could be creating your own nonprofit or podcast, just do it. Even if people might judge you, just go for it because at the end of the day, it's you who matters. It's you who are going to accomplish things and it's your life that you're going to live. So take that leap of faith, be uncomfortable, be vulnerable, and try to go on a podcast if you can.
Okay, I will back that advice up. Definitely great advice for that.